Good morning. I'm Carlton Sharp, pastor of Faith Christian Center Church, right here in Beaumont, Texas. And we're here on what's happening in our neighborhood. And today my special guest is Miss Jean Upfold. Welcome, Jean.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good.
Hey, we're here to talk about something that many people don't want to talk about when it comes down to our existence. We're here to talk about an increase of this epidemic that we're seeing now called human trafficking.
Yeah.
Now, you know about this subject matter personally because something happened to you.
Yes, I do. I was taken at the age of 13 and sold into human trafficking.
Wow. So at 13 years old, someone sold you into human trafficking.
Yes. I ran away from home, and this person watched me and gained my trust. And when he was ready to leave, he told me he was leaving and he couldn't take me with him, and would I like to grow up on his ranch and be his daughter. And that was his way of getting me on the plane and selling me into the hands he was sending me to.
Wow. But now, how did it start? You said that you ran away from home.
I ran away. At the age of 12, I was raped and I became pregnant. And after having the child and the child being taken away, I went home, and it was an unhappy homecoming. My brothers and sisters didn't want me there, and my mother cried all the time. So I left. I wanted them to be happy.
So did you feel isolated in that situation? I mean, because you were pregnant because of the product of a rape. And then once you had the baby, did your family isolate you, or did you isolate yourself?
It was sort of both. You know, the kids in the neighborhood knew I was pregnant. They didn't know I was raped. And my mother cried a lot. She didn't know what to do for me. So it was a pretty unhappy homecoming.
So after you had the baby, you decided to run.
Yes. And that's usually where traffickers get their children. There's children that run. There's no protection for them. They wait at bus stations. They walk around the beaches. And you can always tell a child that's running. There's a scared look in their face.
Okay.
They're hungry. They're always wearing the same clothes. And they're either sleeping on the beach or sleeping in a doorstop somewhere. So
now, how long were you out on the street on your own before somebody made contact with you?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Usually nowadays it's only about 48 hours.
Wow. Okay, so then I'm assuming that someone approached you.
Yes. I was sitting on the beach. I was crying. I was hungry. And I didn't quite know what to do. And he made his move. And he walked up and he asked me if I was hungry. I didn't say anything to him. But he left and he came back about 15 minutes later with a bucket of chicken.
Wow.
And he sat down and that opened the door. I ate and I cried and I told him my miserable life.
Mm-hmm.
And he took me in. He got me a motel room. He never touched me and he never stayed with me. And he did that for 2 weeks. And then one morning he said, I have to leave on business. And I can't take you with me. Would you like to live on my ranch? And I'll raise you as my daughter.
So he built your trust.
Yes.
For 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. And I got on that plane willingly. But nowadays, they don't go that far. They build your trust over the internet, on the phone. Some people might even be half an hour.
Wow.
It depends on the child. It depends on how badly you want to get out.
So if some young person was watching today, whose home condition is not, what they desire, what would you tell them?
I tell them to talk about it with their parents. If it's that undesirable, go to someone in your school. Go to someone who you trust. If it's not someone at school, someone in your neighborhood, an adult, someone who you have trust and faith in. Because a lot of times there are things going on at home that you can't get away from. I was an abused child, but there are times when there's not really much going on. A child doesn't feel like they're getting what they need. They're not being abused, they're not being hurt, but they feel they're not being heard.
That's good.
There was, in some families, there's not a whole lot of love.
Now, how long were you trafficked, and when did you get out?
I was sent to a ranch in California where there were only children there. I was there for 2 years before I escaped.
Before you escaped?
It was a ranch in the middle of the desert. There was a surgeon kept there on the grounds in case we got hurt really bad so we could be sent back to work.
Now, when you say work, I mean, just being naive, I'm assuming that this is not flipping burgers.
No, there were men and women that came there that paid, and they could do anything that they absolutely wanted to do to us.
Wow.
It was pretty horrifying. I myself I was a very hard person to break. They used drugs and starvation to control us. And when you're hard to break, they really do a lot of things to break you down. But they can get to you. They can get to you. I became like an animal. I withdrew into myself. And some people can't take it. Some people can't. I made it out of there only by the grace of God.
Yeah.
And only because I was so stubborn. Most of the kids that were in that place with me were buried in unmarked graves in the desert. And that's why I continue to do what I do, to give them a voice. And my mother, the whole time I was gone, thought I was dead.
Wow.
And I can't begin to imagine what she went through. But to stop just one child from going what I went through, or one parent.
Yeah.
It's, God gave us a beautiful world to live in. But because we live in the flesh, we have a lot of sick people in this world. And this has been going on since the beginning of time. It's time for it to stop.
Now, you say you escaped. How did you get out?
We, every 6 weeks, there were 6 men there, and every 6 weeks, 5 of the men would leave to replenish the ranch. The one that stayed was the one we called the enforcer. He did everything, but he liked drugs and he liked to drink. And sometimes the room that I was kept in was forgotten to be locked. And this time he made the mistake of not locking it. And I escaped with a girl that was in the room with me. And the whole time we were kept there, we were only kept in underwear. And I saw where clothes were kept. I kept my eyes on most of everything there. So we took men's clothes. I found some money and some drugs, and we took off outside. And she went for the road, and I told her, I said, no, we can't take the road.
Yeah.
So we spent 2 days out in the desert, and a family, a car pulled up, a man and woman and 3 kids, and you could tell that there was something wrong with us. I was 16, 5'9", and I weighed 97 pounds.
Wow.
My hair was down to my knees, but it was very
Matted.
straggly,
Yeah.
very dull. No, it wasn't matted. They took very good care of us, but you could tell that we were addicted to drugs and that we weren't taken care of very well. And they wanted to take us to the police. Well, they had to stop for gas.
Mm.
And we were out of there. We were gone. We trusted no one. The place where we were, the saddest thing about it is it was run by police officers.
Wow.
And officials. You know, there are bad people in every
Yeah.
walk of life. And it took me a lifetime to realize that not every police officer or official was bad.
Mm.
When you have things like that happen to you young, you grow up hard and cold. And
Yeah.
I was a very hard and cold person before I found the Lord.
So what's your life journey now, Jean?
My life journey now, I went through, after I got out, I went through a lot of things. I was drugs, in and out of jail. I straightened my life out and I worked, but I was always in prison up here.
Mm. Out in the world, but in prison
Yeah.
in the mind.
When I was 56 years old, I found the Lord.
Wow.
And I always wanted to do something about human trafficking. And when I found the Lord, He started to open all those doors and give me a voice. And it took 3 years for me to give my testimony. No one had ever known that I'd been in human trafficking. They knew that I had been abused, but they'd never known. And when I sat, because I'm a leader in Celebrate Recovery, when I sat down to give my testimony, the Lord told me, He said, you got to put it all down there.
Wow.
And I figured, I remember walking up the steps that night. I said, well, this will probably be the last time I ever walk up these steps, because they'll all turn their back on me. But when I walked off that stage, I was free. I was free, and that opened the doors to everything. Channel 6 called me, and I did my interview on TV, and I started my crusade because I realized that God put that mantle on me when I was a child. And now I go out and I speak on human trafficking. Schools, churches, anywhere. You know, parents don't know what to look for.
Right, right.
When it comes to their child being taken, you know, computers and phones nowadays. Johnny Matlock, who was just sent to prison, got his girls through the computer. You know, young kids, they get on the computers and I'm depressed, I'm lonely, and somebody's watching that. Somebody knows you're depressed and you're lonely. You know, it might be a 15-year-old boy or a 60-year-old man, but they're going to come across on the computer as Cindy, who saw your depression.
And now, Jean, since social media is so prevalent in our society, you know, and everybody putting all their information out online, you know, so what you're saying is the predators are watching that.
Yeah. Even people, you have people that put pictures of their kids all over
Yeah.
Facebook. You know, it's wonderful to have pictures of your kids, but now everybody else has got them too. A lot of parents will have their children put on Facebook or on the computer. I want to know everywhere you're going. That predator knows everywhere you're going. And he might get to the mall 15 minutes before Timmy does and tell you that you're supposed to go with him so you can meet Timmy. You know, it's a sad world where we have to tell our children, look, check everything out before you do anything. But we do live in that world.
And I think earlier you told me that the traffickers are not looking for older adults. They're looking for kids.
They're looking for kids because they can control kids. You know, it used to be they looked for older women and older men, but now children's minds are not developed. The thing about children is they still have an innocence to them. They want love and they want acceptance. And their minds are not developed until they're about 25 years old.
And so that our viewers don't think that it's just young ladies or young girls that they're looking for, they're taking both boys and girls.
They pay more money for young boys.
Really?
Yes, they do. And it's hard to get them because young boys aren't as easy to get online.
Wow.
So young boys, they usually just snatch young boys. And it's hard because young boys are not like girls that get on there and tell everybody where they're going or what they're doing.
Right, right.
They're out walking late. Sometimes they're with a friend, or they'll leave their friend and they're walking by themselves. Children need to know how to protect themselves. They need to know how to scream, where to hit somebody, stay in light.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of things that these children need to know, and the schools need to have people coming in and giving an intervention talk.
So is that some type of profile of the abductor or predator that parents may need to know, you know,
usually
to tell their children?
With young girls,
you know,
they start them out by buying expensive gifts. If you see a young girl come home with expensive gifts
that you didn't purchase,
never have, and they couldn't purchase, or they withdraw, their grades start to drop, they're secretive on the phone. You don't know who their new boyfriend is, or their new boyfriend might be 5 to 6 years older than them. We have young boys 15 years old pimping girls on the street.
Yeah.
You know, it's sad, but it is true. And a lot of times, these young girls actually believe that they're in love with these boys that are pimping them. And they're the hardest ones
to convince to come out.
To convince to get them off the street. But if you see any of these things, there are places that will help you. Harvest House Ministries helps with interventions.
Spindletop.
Spindletop helps with interventions. I work with young people, bringing them out of darkness. Darkness is the hardest place to come out of. The shame, the guilt, the power that these people have over you, and they're not even in your life anymore.
So Jean, once you got out, how long did it take, I mean, for you to, well, you said when you were 56, gave your life to the Lord. So it took from 16 to 56?
It took me a lifetime. Because back then we didn't have the things that we have now.
Yeah.
And back then it was all, oh, don't tell anybody.
Yeah, secretive.
Don't tell anybody. You know, nowadays there's help. Somebody that's been trafficked, they need psychological help. They need love. They need spiritual help. They just need somebody that's going to be there. And with me, I was so young, and my father being my first abuser, that I didn't know what love was. And when I got out of there, I trusted no one and nothing. The only thing that meant anything to me was money. At that age, I knew that God never heard my voice because I cried out to him and he was never there. You know, I realize now that that was a lie the devil was telling me. But for kids who are trapped in it, that's what they hear and that's what they see. You know, but God has given me many miracles in my life. I'm a 3-time cancer survivor.
Praise the Lord.
And since I gave my life to the Lord, he has given me things that I could have never imagined, and opened doors that I could never have imagined. And I realize that those doors that are open, they open because people seek him and not me. But there are kids out there that need to know that there's life after being out there.
But Jean, I want to thank you for coming and sharing your story today.
Well, thank you.
Because I know that our viewers who are watching today, you know, we want them to have information about things that are happening, and human trafficking is happening even in our area.
Texas is second in the nation.
Second in the nation.
Second.
And some young girls, some young boy who have been taken need to know that there's life after.
There is. And Harvest House Ministries, for adults who want to know, who want to become involved, has training in human trafficking. We have detectives. The Super Bowl is coming up. Please get ready for 6 months before the Super Bowl, because people they traffic people they get ready for months.
Wow.
Bringing people in for the Super Bowl. They bring kids in from other states. It's 6 months they work getting ready. You know, so it's really something. And with I-10 right here, it's a big business. Last year, 2,800 children in Texas were taken.
Wow.
It's a billion-dollar business. What people don't think about is that a body can be sold over and over and over. And when somebody becomes afraid that they know where that child is, that child may cease to exist.
Wow.
Because they can get another one. But with people's awareness and being aware of what's going on around them, that makes it that much harder for a child to be taken.
Wow.
So awareness, that's big. Another thing that was just put out that's being processed now is that any business that has any kind of sexual orientation, massage parlors, bookstores, now has to have in their bathrooms numbers for any kind of human trafficking, numbers and information. And now anyone human trafficking a child, it's a life sentence.
Wow.
For each one.
That's good.
So.
That's good. Well, listen, I'm going to give the information for Harvest House. Harvest House's number is 409-790-5655. 0798. There it is right there on the screen. And Harvest House Outreach is a Christian-centered outreach. It's dedicated to provide sex trafficking awareness and advocacy, mentoring, prevention, and community mobilization. And so if you know of anybody, or if you're watching today and you are in the sex trafficking situation, you could call them. There's somebody there to help. Again, I want to thank Jean for coming to share this most intimate details of her life to help somebody, to help some youth, one, not get involved, but two, if they're involved, to get out. And again, parents, we need to be watchful of our children and our grandchildren, to make sure that they're not being candidates to get trafficked. If they're isolating themselves, that might be something that you need to look at. I mean, if their grades are dropping without, you know, just dropping, there's help available to you.
Older boyfriends.
Older boyfriends. I mean, grown men dating your young daughters, or vice versa, older women dating your young boys. There's help available to you. Listen, let me give you the Spindletop number, and I'm gonna put it right there on the bottom of your screen for you to contact Spindletop to get some help. If your child needs to talk to someone, a Spindletop is available to you. And the number you can reach out to is 409-839-5402. Again, that number is 409-839-5402. And you can reach out to them, and they have programs that are available to help you help your child talk through their situation. And so I listen. Don't think that there's not help available, because there is. Again, there's Harvest House, and then there's Spindletop that can assist in helping get information. There the number is right there on the screen for Spindletop. And so again, there's help for you. But again, you need to get the help. And again, Jean has come on and shared her. There's Harvest House information right there. Jean has come on today to share with us you know, what happened to her when she was 13 years old. And then parents, it's also a thing for us. What you say about your child and the interaction you have with your child at an early stage helps them develop who they are. If you're pushing them away, if you're not giving them the love and support that they need, then you really are making your child a candidate for somebody else to become to become a trusting figure in their lives. And the predator will give them what they think they need, and really what they really need is love from you. And so let's make sure that we're actually loving our children and developing them to become productive citizens in our communities. Now, it's up to all of us. Yeah, it does take a village to raise a child. And so I want to encourage all of you and you know, to really have a conversation with your child. And then look at their devices, you know, their cell phones that you bought them, their laptops that you bought them. You provided them internet service and all of that. Learn what they're watching. Learn who they're communicating with. You know, you're paying for it, so you might as well know in detail, because these predators are acting like young boys when they're actually grown men. And so again, it's up to all of us. So I want to thank Jean for joining us, and I want to thank you for joining us today on What's Happening in Our Neighborhood, and we will see you next time on our broadcast.